Good morning, dear students. Till now, we have discussed that how law plays an important role in keeping the order and peace in the society. We have discussed that the definition and scope of law must continue to change and upgrade. The outcome is that a definition of law presented at specific time can't remain effective at all times to come. A definition which is reflected adequate today may be found constructive tomorrow. The same can be contradicted on various grounds. In order to understand the origin and evolution of law, we need to understand what are the different sources of law. In current chapter, we'll be taking up different sources of law that have helped in the development and origin of law. But before starting with the topic of sources of law, we need to understand as to what does this term sources mean. Like many other terms, even the word sources has been given various definitions and meanings. To understand the term source, we need to understand the literal meaning of the term source, which means the origin. Thus, when we use the expression sources of law, we normally mean the origin from which the rules of human conduct have come into existence, how they have derived their legal force, or what we say as binding character. Different sources of law helps us in understanding how different factors have contributed in the development of law. To say what were the factors behind the origin and development of law. Like we have various definitions of law and other concepts, similarly we have different understanding of the term sources of law. Since the origin, growth and basis of law has been different in different stages of social development, different jurists have pointed out different sources as more authoritative. According to some jurists, sources of law is the society, whereas for others, the main sources of law is the sovereign. Thus, sources of law is understood from the point of view of three meanings: as formal source, as literary source, and as material source. When we talk about as formal source, it may mean that aspect which confers binding authority as a rule and converts the rule into law. Here, the state is thus considered to be the formal source of law, and for every law, this type of source is the same, that is, the will of the state. No rule can have authority as law unless it has received an express consent or acceptance of the state. The second source is considered to be as literary source. The expression sources of law under this place means that if a person wants to get information about the law, then one has to go through certain text. It includes various examples like, for example, judgment laws, precedents, reports of decided cases, textbooks. To say the sources of law remains the literary source as the main source where the law origin and development of law can be taken into consideration. The third perspective from where the origin of law is understood is the material source, where the expression source of law may mean that which supplies the matter on the content of law, custom, religious practices, agreements, opinions, etc. And thus this category is stated as material sources. When we talk about understanding the sources of law from these three perspectives, we take into consideration the three main sources of law that are taken up in the current scenario. The first one is the legislation, second reflects to precedents, and third reflects to customs as the sources of law. In the current chapter, we shall discuss that what do we understand by sources of law and what were the ancient sources of law as understood under Hindu jurisprudence. There were mainly three sources of law that were recognized under Hindu law in the ancient times. The first one was Shruti, second one was Smriti, and third one was Acharas, that reflects to customs as understood in today's world. Here, the term Shruti meant what is to be heard, Smriti, what is to be remembered, and Acharas as how to behave in a particular given situation. Shruti consisted of four Vedas, namely Rigved, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharved. These Vedas chiefly dealt with religious duties, practices, and customs. The term Vedas mean knowledge, and thus these Vedas were considered as the oldest text of Hinduism. These Vedas are structured in four different collections containing hymns, poems, prayers, and religious instructions. It is on the basis of these Vedas that the Indian caste system is based on. Since these Vedas were transmitted orally during the course of numerous subsequent generations before the finally being archived in written form, not much is known about the authors of Vedas. Among these four Vedas, Rigveda is the oldest Veda. Rigveda contains hymns about their mythology. The Samved consists mainly of hymns about religious rituals. The Yajur Veda contains instructions for religious rituals, and the Atharva Veda consists of spells against enemies, sorcerers, and diseases. Each Veda was further divided into two sections: the Brahmans, instructions for religious rituals, and the Samhitas, mantras or hymns in praise of various deities. Thus, Shruti are considered to be an important source of Hindu laws because they consist of theories about sacrifices, rituals, and customs. It also refers to certain rights and duties, forms of marriage, the requirement of a son, exclusion of women from inheritance, and partition. But these are not very clear cut laws. When we talk about these customs, many customs have been held to be invalid and against law. But one cannot deny that Shruti are an important source of law that has helped in development of Hindu jurisprudence or self-Hindu law. The second category comes to be Smriti. That means to remember. Traditionally, Smritis contains those portions of the Shrutis which the sage forget in their original form and the idea whereby they wrote in their own language with the help of their memory. That's why it is known as Smriti. So, whatever was remembered, that was written down by different priests in their own words. According to jurisprudence, the word remembered are those which were heard but were forgotten. Through a series of meditation, the words were recollected by the rishis and were written down. This is the reason that Shrutis are considered to be the basis for Smriti. Should keep in mind that these Smritis are the human work. Different texts that were written down on the basis of memory were Dharmashastra, Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Nara Smriti, Vishnu Smriti, Brahaspati Smriti, Katyani Smriti. These texts were often used for legal judgment of king, and opinions of Shishtas were taken into consideration. Shishtas here means Brahmins, who were considered to be behind the legal force, because these were the persons who were considered to be learned in Vedas and who were able to adduce proofs from text. These were the people who were considered to be pious and selfless, and thus their words were taken into consideration in order to provide any type of legal judgment, as they had the authority to interpret and evolve the law for the reason and for the status that was shared by them at that time. The third source under the Hindu law are acharas, that is customs. Customs are a principal source and their position is next to Shrutis and Smritis. But usage of customs prevail over the Smritis. It is superior to written laws. These customs, that is acharas, are regarded as the highest dharma. As defined by judicial committees, custom signifies a rule or a practice that were followed in a given society and had long usage, the usage being from the time immemorial. And due to this usage, they have obtained the force of law. Most of the Hindu law is based on customs and practices that were followed by the people all across the country. Even Smritis have given importance to customs. They have held customs as transcendent law and have advised the king to give decisions based on customs after due religious consideration. Thus, when we talk about acharas, it provides rules on daily rituals, life cycle rites, as well as specific duties and proper conduct that each of the four castes or varnas have to follow. The daily rituals include practices about daily sacrifices, the kind of food to eat, and how to obtain them, and who can give and who can accept religious gifts. The life cycle rites are the rituals that are conducted on important events in one's life, like birth, marriage, and tying of the sacred thread. Apart from customs, there are other sources of law like precedent and legislation. In modern times, the sources of law are divided mainly under three heads. One is the customs, that includes the practices that have been taken up from the time immemorial. Second is the precedents, and last is the legislation. Thus, sources of law means the origin of law, that is, the binding principles, rules governing the human conduct. Such sources may be international, national, regional, or religious. It also refers to the sovereign or to the state from which the law descends, its enforcement or authority. In a civil law system, one has only to look at the appropriate code or statute. But in common law system, one need to look at legislations, primary and secondary, and also at the judicial precedents. Thus, these sources of law, that is custom, precedent, legislation, forms an important part in understanding the evolution of law and the growth and development of law. With this, we are done with our today's session. In next session, we shall take up as to what do you understand by customs, what are the kinds of customs, what are the essentials for a custom to become law. Till then, take care, have a nice day. Thank you.